Series opener, we find Doona dreaming of performing at a concert, only to let herself fall into a body of water amidst the cheering crowd, symbolically saying goodbye to it all. She jolts awake, startled. Meanwhile, Kook Soo-jin and Lee Won-joon are en route to Seoul. Soo-jin, an ardent fan of the girl group Dream Suite, has their merchandise scattered all over his car. Won-joon, moving to Seoul for college, expresses his concerns about his mother and sister, who were recently hospitalized. Soo-jin vows to look out for them in his absence. Arriving at his shared apartment, Won-joon encounters a cold reception from Doona, who ignores his attempts at conversation. He also meets the housemates, Young-hoon, who lays down the house rules, and Yoon-taek, who warmly welcomes him. As Won-joon cleans his room, the noise irritates Doona upstairs. Distracted by her presence, he prepares pamphlets to advertise his tutoring services. Later, as Won-joon posts his pamphlets, he notices Doona on the rooftop, making a call and texting someone about a stalker in the building, only to be ignored. Back home, Soo-jin calls with good news about securing Won-joon's first tutoring client, but the call shifts to his obsession with Dream Suite. Won-joon realizes he's been wearing Soo-jin's Dream Suite hoodie all day. The next morning, Won-joon sings a Dream Suite song on his way out, leading to a confrontation with Doona, who accuses him of being a stalker. He clarifies his indifference to her fame and walks away. Doona, ignoring a call from her mom, continues smoking. Won-joon's meeting with a potential client goes well, but on his way home, he bumps into an old acquaintance, Jin-ju. They catch up over drinks, and as it starts snowing, he lends her his scarf. Returning home, he finds Doona crying outside in the snow. Ignoring her at first, he intervenes when she collapses, calling an ambulance. At the hospital, Won-joon pretends to be Doona's younger sibling. The doctor advises him on how to care for her low body temperature. Won-joon buys her socks and helps her put them on. The next day, Soo-jin calls with bad news. The client cancelled due to the smell of cigarettes on Won-joon, which came from his encounter with Doona. Frustrated, Won-joon loses a vital source of income. Finding Doona sitting on his package, she invites him to breakfast, which he declines. Over the next few days, she persistently invites him to meals, but he consistently turns her down. Trying to avoid Doona, Won-joon runs into her while doing laundry. When he jokingly asks if she's fallen for him, she laughs, clarifying she seeks friendship. Her persistent interactions overwhelm him to the point of wishing to move out. At school, Jin-ju returns his scarf, hinting at lingering feelings. Won-joon posts more tutoring pamphlets, only to be told to remove them for lacking a stamp. On his way home, Doona prank calls, pretending to be a client. Frustrated, Won-joon vents about his financial struggles. Though hurt, Doona acknowledges his situation. The next day, Doona stops waiting for Won-joon, and he feels guilty. He offers to take her for a meal, but she ignores him. Days later, she shows up during his class, reminding him of his promise. They go for ice cream, reconcile, and joke around. Doona warns him not to fall for her and informs him she'll call him in emergencies. He reluctantly agrees, opening the door to an unlikely friendship. In the next thrilling chapter, we flash back to Doona's fateful last concert, where the pressure becomes unbearable, and she faints on stage. A man rushes to her aid as the stunned crowd watches. For Doona, it feels like drowning. In the present, Doona lives in a co-ed house with 3 men, including Won-joon. Curious about his housemates, Won-joon narrates what he has learned. Yoon-taek struggles with relationships, Young-hoon is a fitness fanatic with strict dating principles, and Doona remains an enigma. Doona prepares to leave the house and heads to a nearby convenience store, where she anxiously fears being recognized. Won-joon, on his way to his new job as a waiter, spots her but decides not to call out. At the store, Doona's fears are unfounded, and she leaves, noticing Won-joon just as his bus arrives. At work, Won-joon is surprised to find Jin-ju also works there. They quickly bond, making work enjoyable. During his break, Doona calls, but Won-joon, enjoying coffee with Jin-ju, misses it. A flashback reveals Won-joon and Jin-ju's high school days, where they competed academically and grew close after she asked for help with a math problem. In the present, after work, Won-joon realizes they've swapped aprons. Doona, meanwhile, watches TV and ignores her mother's calls. A flashback shows her receiving a phone from a man, presumably P, who warns her to stay out of trouble. In the present, she goes out for fresh air and sees Won-joon feeding a cat. She tells him she hates being ignored. Won-joon explains he was working, but Doona says she meant someone else. She admits she called to hear his voice, flustering him. The next day, Won-joon reluctantly attends a welcoming party for civil engineering students. Doona, bored at home, calls him, but some rude guys interrupt. Won-joon's phone is grabbed, and the men threaten him. Doona, nearby, arrives just in time and nearly smashes a bottle over one of the men's heads, but Won-joon stops her, getting a minor cut in the process. He cautions her to manage her anger. As they talk, Jin-ju and her friends from the party appear. Jin-ju joins them for drinks at their house, despite Doona's initial refusal. Doona and Jin-ju bond, joking about Won-joon's feelings for Jin-ju. Won-joon worries about Jin-ju missing the last bus, so Doona offers her a place to sleep. Drunk, Jin-ju falls asleep mid-conversation. Later, Doona answers a call from Jin-ju's dad, skillfully pretending to be Jin-ju's parent. Won-joon jokes about her acting skills, ruining the mood, and Doona goes to smoke. Won-joon follows, and they discuss his crush on Jin-ju. Doona admits she's jealous of their friendship, having never had friends herself. She almost kisses Won-joon but pulls back at the last moment. The next morning, Won-joon is preoccupied with thoughts of the almost kiss. At school, he returns Jin-ju's apron, and she mentions seeing him with Doona. Before he can clarify, he spots Sehun and leaves. Returning home, Won-joon helps Doona with her trash. He tells her about the misunderstanding with Jin-ju. Doona asks why he didn't clarify, and Won-joon admits he's afraid of hoping for more due to past heartbreak. He says he cares about what people think, unlike Doona. Offended, Doona lashes out and retreats to her room. Won-joon wonders about Doona's mental state and calls Soo-jin, who explains that Doona always does things her way. Later, Doona is touched when she sees Won-joon has properly disposed of her trash and invites her for dinner. At dinner, Young-hoon is unwelcoming, while Yoon-taek is friendly. After dinner, Won-joon asks Doona why she quit music. She says she felt she couldn't sing anymore. Won-joon takes her to play a game, watching her excitement with warmth. A flashback shows the night Doona collapsed on stage. Overwhelmed by anxiety and ignored by her manager and group members, she fainted under the relentless pressure and flashing cameras. Won-joon advises Doona to take better care of herself. She reveals it's her birthday, and he pretends he didn't know, despite making her seaweed soup. Doona questions if he has feelings for her, and he denies it. She offers to help him win over Jin-ju. During their practice, Doona is momentarily shaken by Won-joon's smoothness. He calls Jin-ju, clarifying there's nothing between him and Doona. Doona finds a surprise present and message in her room. She rushes out, searching for the sender, wandering the streets barefoot and confused.